crack in the window, mate.
Gotta be whip it crack in the window, my clothes don't frostbite.
Might close on it. It might get frostbite.
You have to roll every single R.
A wee bit crack in the morning.
No. It's not doing it's not a guttural from the throat.
A wee bit
okay,
crack,
put your tongue.
Crack.
Put your tongue.
Crack. I just did it. Crack.
No, you sound like you're spitting, bro. Put your tongue. Listen to me, dude.
Yeah.
Put your tongue right behind your front set teeth. So not back here.
Yeah.
And then just do.
I can't, dude.
Let it bounce off the back. Right here.
Yeah.
No. Don't
get crack in. I can't.
Dude, you're fucking Irish, bro.
It's biological. I'm Irish, but I'm also born in America. I'm more American than I am anything else.
True. You're 100% American. You're born here. You're legally American.
A lot of people say that. When people say like, "Oh, what are you?"
I'm recording, by the way.
I'm French, Portuguese.
I'm recording, by the way.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
I'm French, Portuguese. Well, you're also American, and I can tell because you sound like it.
Yeah, I know. So there's really no reason.
What do you mean?
There's no reason to say you're anything. Because you don't have any of those cultures. I mean, a lot of times you don't have those cultures. Like, I'm Filipino. I know jack shit about the Philippines.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I researched them for a little bit because I felt bad that I didn't know
But
shit
we're all
about them.
American.
Yeah.
And I think people forget to say that. I think it's really important.
Well, I mean, obviously you're American. Yeah, I can tell by talking to you, you're American, dude.
Yeah, but I think it's important to say that.
Yeah, I'm like 95% American. No one says that, dude.
Yeah, well...
Because America, there's no, like... It's not a particular ethnicity, you know what I mean? But Italian...
Well, I think it's just cool to say that you're not, like... It's cool to say that you're not American, to say that, oh yeah, I'm Irish. It's like, wow, that's so cool.
If I went to a foreign country, I'd say I'm American.
Yeah, and then people are like, whoa.
But they would probably already tell by my accent.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So when I went to Costa Rica, I pretended that I wasn't American, and they caught me.
Really?
I went to... There were a lot of... Remember when me and Vinny went to... We went to different hotels, and there was this one shitty hotel where there were ants coming out of like burrows into the room. So I left, and I went up to the lady, and I said something in Spanish, and she responded in Spanish, and I was like, but I didn't understand what she was saying. So I was like,
fucked. Yeah.
And she's like, "What's the problem?"
God, that sucks.
Almost got.
I remember you did that one time. We went out to Mexicali, and we were initially talking in English, and then you just went off, and you knew that she could speak Spanish, so you said, blah, 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 and you said something.
What? Where the fuck was I?
We were at Mexicali. It was you, me, and somebody else.
Oh,
and it was the female waitress. She's like 4'7".
Yeah, she's always short.
She came up, and we were talking, like ordering in English, and then when we came around to you, you said something to her in Spanish, and she responded, and you understood her.
I did understand her?
Yeah, and then you said something back, and then you were talking, you guys were like, yeah, I study it in school a little bit, so I kind of understand you. And I was like really impressed. And that was when we first started like really hanging out.
Damn, I don't remember that at all. That's crazy. I'm kind of impressed myself. Like I
was really impressed.
Really? That's crazy. That's fucking. I don't remember ever. Right now in terms of Spanish, I feel like I don't know jack shit.
I don't know anything about
Like I downloaded an app and I started watching some free videos.
Like Duolingo?
No, not Duolingo actually. Duolingo, it doesn't. It teaches you the rudimentary basics, but it doesn't actually help you learn the language. Yeah. But I mean, what can you get when it's free? Well, there's an app I use. I forgot the name of it, but it has like thousands of words, and it has like over a dozen different like lessons. It's crazy. There's like literal lessons within lessons. You just go to one bracket, and it'll divide into 12 different things. You're like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, it's probably everything I'll ever need to know to learn Spanish.
Well, I obviously don't have an experience with it, but I know everybody says the best way to learn a language is just to be surrounded by it.
Yeah, I mean, that's
like the best way to learn. I remember, who was I talking to? It might have been Mishamgo, and she said that the most she ever learned, like when she was studying Spanish as a young adult, was actually going to like Puerto Rico and things like that.
Yeah, I think
just being surrounded by it and being that vulnerable.
Exactly. It's when you're in a vulnerable spot.
You're forced to be uncomfortable, and then you're forced to adapt. Yeah,
exactly. Like when we're kids, as babies, we're not on Duolingo, you know?
No,
we're just thrown into it.
Yeah, exactly.
But our neurons and everything are still developing, so we have that ability to learn a language much quicker. But when we're older,
it's much harder.
Yeah, exactly. I remember her actually saying that. I remember reading online that, you know, when you reach adulthood, it's gonna be even more difficult. So I feel really bad. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, I want to be trilingual before I die. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if I consider myself bilingual now, but like Abby's taught me sign language.
Mm-hmm.
And did I ever tell you that?
Mm-hmm.
And I have a deaf coworker, and I'm always like signing to him. So I'm comfortable with him too. So but at one point I was really uncomfortable trying to sign to him. So I'm beyond that discomfort phase.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of like selective comfort, because when another deaf stranger comes into Big Y and buys food from me, buys food. Yeah, but when I'm as a cashier, I'll get wicked worked up and nervous.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like you don't know if they do something different than what you were taught.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's something where everybody can be sort of different.
Yeah, I mean, even in sign language, there's slang, you know? People do it differently.
Yeah.
It's biomechanically impossible to do the exact same movement, you know?
If most, I mean, people that have mastered this and, like, understand it are able to probably understand that slang.
Exactly.
Which is, I mean, obviously, we probably don't know anybody that has that sort of, that hasn't mastered it enough to that extent where they would understand everybody's slang.
Exactly, and that all comes with just traveling. And I forget where exactly, but there's like designated like deaf communities.
Really?
Like towns just full of them. And I think that's so cool.
That is cool.
Because then you can go there. And that's what learning sign language is all about.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just learning sign. Like, you have to be vulnerable to the deaf community. You know what they'll do? If they notice something unique about you, they will literally give you a sign name.
Yeah,
like
you told me that.
I have to spell my name out. Like, this is Brandon. But sometimes they'll just give you like a sign, like one hand gesture, and this is important. Once they give you that sign, because you can't come up with your own sign to identify yourself, they have to give you it. And once you are given it, you are completely and totally welcomed by the deaf community.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
you
like a
are,
native thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like some guy throws some freaking ash symbol on your forehead.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you are one with them. I think that's
cool.
sick as hell. And
it's like being baptized.
Yeah, being baptized into the deaf community. But that's not the only thing you should strive for. You shouldn't strive for that sign, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It should be striving for their acceptance, because for so long the deaf have been rejected. Primarily information and learning. Like the deaf, I'm not sure how long ago, maybe it was like 60, 70 years ago, they weren't, the information that we know about wasn't given to them.
No.
And a lot of times they were looked upon as inferior.
Yeah.
And they would force you to learn how to talk if you were deaf.
Yeah.
I know someone who, I don't know someone, but I know someone who knows someone that when they were growing up, they were told, even though they were deaf, to talk.
And it's like, you can tell.
And it was because of theological reasons. Like, the parents were like, God gives everyone a voice, so you better use it. And I was like, even I'm a Christian, and I think that's fucked up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just looked it up. In Rochester, New York, which I just visited pretty recently, there's large, very prominent communities of deaf people and their deaf schools and deaf children.
Yeah.
It's literally titled Rochester's Deaf Culture.
I think that's so cool. Sometimes, if you get the opportunity, you'll be like invited to a dinner or like an event where it's just all deaf people, and they'll all just be signing to each other, and I think that's cool. There's one lady who had a long conversation with. Her name's Liberty. She we actually spoke about sign for like probably a couple hours on the phone, dude. It was crazy.
On the phone?
Yeah, because I wanted to take lessons with her.
Where is she?
She lives in.
Oh, like sign lessons?
Yeah, sign lessons.
Oh, that's cool.
She even though she knew sign so much.
Oh, would you have to like FaceTime?
No, it wasn't FaceTime. She wasn't deaf. Is that what you're thinking?
But to teach her.
No. It was just like philosophical.
Oh, you were just talking. She wasn't teaching you yet.
No, it was just. She was teaching me. She was teaching me about the culture, you know.
I mean, yeah, I was wondering because if she was trying to show you different like hand motions, you'd probably have to see it.
Yeah, no, that wasn't it.
But you were just talking.
It was a preliminary setup. It was a conversation to get to know each other, and then we'd meet in person.
Okay.
But that never happened.
No,
okay. Because she hasn't been feeling well, so, and I'm waiting for her to get back to me. But now I have like courses and everything.
Yeah,
so.
just kind of.
But even though she knew science so much, she didn't understand what these two people who were deaf were saying to her, and she was like really confused. Like I can't remember what exactly, but they kept signing something to her.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What do you mean? No, that's not. I mean this." And then they're like, "No. We mean this." And then she eventually realized they were giving her a sign to identify herself.
Oh, okay.
She was given a name.
Wow.
She's oh my God, my first name. You know, this is who I am now.
Yeah, and it took her that long to figure it out.
Yeah, and have you seen The Sound of Metal?
I started it. I was one of those. You know how when you go to bed you put on a movie sometimes just to fall asleep.
Yeah.
I clicked on it and I didn't realize how good it really was. And it was probably around 1 a.m. and I decided, I was like...
You fell asleep to it?
I was like, this is really good, but I gotta go to bed.
Yeah.
And I kind of just forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I know it's about about that drummer that lost his hearing.
Yeah.
And he sort of, you can tell, I remember watching in the beginning, he sort of relies on the vibrations in his drum set. Because I remember there's a scene where he's like... it's like you're in his perspective and you don't hear anything, but you like... Just the way that they set up the scene, you can tell that he's like feeling that it's very weird.
Yeah, I know. It kind of reflects real struggle. Like people do lose their hearing when drumming, and it shows you that perspective. It makes you think, oh my God, my hearing is so precious. Because when you go through hearing loss, you don't get those cells back. Like cochlear ear cells are gone forever.
Yeah.
They don't regrow, and I'm hoping they make it technology. So they introduce that concept, but then they also introduce what it's like to be deaf.
Yeah.
We're transitioning into deafness.
Yeah.
And it's a huge struggle.
Well, I think that's relative with every sort of sense, from touching to smell.
Yeah, I know.
If there's a moment, it's like as similar as say you sleep on the wrong side of the bed and you wake up and you can't feel your arm. We were talking about this the other day. Like, it's like, you're fine, but for that moment where you can't feel it, like...
You're shitting your pants.
Yeah, like you have no sense of touch.
Yeah, and then
very scary.
In that moment, you try to do everything you can to wake the other
up.
Like, I wake up at 3 a.m. I'm like, oh, shit. Throw my arm around.
Well, and I think it's even on a more basic level... I think that contributes to the fear of darkness and not being able to see. Even if you're not blind, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you have to go downstairs.
Yeah.
And you can't see anything, it's like, I don't know, when you're
limited. Makes you think, I get what you're feeling. And there's an even more severe moment that you told me about was when you're in a cabin of some sort. Do you remember you were in a cabin, you woke up, and you were like, oh my God, am I blind?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so there was this, my dad and I, there's a trail that runs from Metacomet. There's a mountain in Connecticut called Metacomet. Yeah. And there's a mountain in New Hampshire called Monadnock. Mm-hmm. So there's this trail called the M&M Trail, the Metacomet Monadnock Trail. But everybody calls it the M&M. And if you go online, you can follow it. There's cabins and lean-tos that you can stop at every like 20 miles, 12 miles. It's different wherever you go.
Yep.
So we were in Petersham in Massachusetts, obviously, and we hiked from Petersham to Warwick, which is right before the border of New Hampshire. And it was about 43 miles, and we did 3 days in the woods. And it was crappy weather. It was like snowy. And I had never done a trip this long before. Mm-hmm. So physically I was fine. But the one thing I really like to say is that when you're going into one of these trips, the one thing I think, maybe this was just my experience, but I would guess that most amateur hikers' experiences, you really don't realize until you're doing it how much hiking and how much walking you're actually doing. You wake up probably around 7 and you hike until you can't anymore, and you just walk all day, and it's very, like, you have to enjoy it, and if you don't, it becomes very boring. But anyways,
I get what you mean. Simplicity, you have to like really take into simplicity. I feel like if you live a complex life when you're always doing things that give you instant gratification, it's probably going to be very difficult for you.
Well, it's different because it's either very difficult to enter that kind of environment or it's very relieving.
Yeah.
And the second time we went, it was very relieving. The first time it took a really large toll on me, and I knew it was. I remember, before I get to that story you brought up, I remember the second day, it was just the second day, and we were expecting to get to the next cabin. It's called this Logar cabin. It's in, I forget the town, but it's kind of like a rundown town.
Yeah.
And we were expecting to be there in about an hour. And so we hiked for another hour and we weren't there. And I was like, okay. And we hiked for about another hour and we still weren't there. And we ended up hiking for about 4 or 5 hours and we still couldn't find it.
Was it getting dark?
It was. And even before it got dark, I remember looking beyond the trail and into the woods and thinking that I saw this cabin. I was like, yes, we're here.
Oh my God.
And then I would get down and it wasn't there. And it would be trees.
Were you hallucinating or?
It wasn't. I was just being... I guess I would say it was an exaggeration of hopeful.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, like some kind of empty hope.
Well, yeah, and I would see different barks and think, "Oh, that's a tree." But I mean, that's the cabin.
Yeah.
But so it was. I'm just trying to say it was taking a toll on me, and what you were talking about. We were in a tent, and we were in a lean-to on our last night, and I was pretty scared. It was like disgusting night. It was really cold.
Just you and your dad, right?
Yeah, and I woke up in the middle of the night and it was so dark that I couldn't see anything. Like usually you can see out of the peripherals and you can see like...
because your peripherals they're more light sensitive and then the middle of our eyes is more color sensitive.
So, and my eyes weren't focusing, I couldn't see anything. And I literally had my nose and my hand were touching. I was like, trying to see my hand. I was like,
you were shaking your hand.
I was freaking out because I couldn't see it's never been that dark for me before. And I genuinely thought I was blind. And I remember like, I was freaking out.
Really? Did you wake up your dad?
I was like, Dad. And he was like, what? I was like, can you see anything? And he was like, I mean... And he was like kind of, I don't know, he just went back to sleep, but I finally found my phone and I turned on the flashlight, and when I turned it on and I could see everything, I felt so much better. But yeah, I don't know, when we imagine it now, because we're just sitting here in the comfort of your basement, it's not that bad, but once that's taken away from you, even if it's slow like that movie, it's very, very scary.
And you want that instant relief. So the moment you turn on your phone, you're like...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, I bet it was. And that's the thing, like transitioning into deafness, you can't run away from that.
No.
You can, and do you want me to spoil it, or do you want to like...
No, that's fine.
Like, he gets these implants, he gets a surgery, and it doesn't work the way he wants it to. It sounds like a CD... that was thrown on the floor and then put back into a CD player. That's what... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly how it sounded. It just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
It was... And what he realized...
Is this based on a true story?
I don't think it is.
It's probably
based on real experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that movie, it definitely is. And it didn't sound the way he wanted it to sound. And what he realized that it's just an imitation to help him be aware of the audible environment, but it's not to it will never restore the quality and the pureness of sound.
Yeah.
But before that, he was so aggravated. He was a part of this, like, at first he was really annoyed that he was sent to this program of purely deaf people.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this one guy who could read lips, but he was deaf too.
Mm-hmm.
He could read lips because he could speak at one point and he could hear, but he lost it too. And they started having a conversation, and he said that if you want to be a part of this deaf community, you have to give up your phone and the internet. And he has to live here.
Was it like a retreat or something?
Kind of. You know, to truly learn something, you have to dedicate your life to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, almost like a monk. Monks would go up on these high mountains, completely away from any civilization, and they would be surrounded by other monks. You know, same sex. They would never encounter women, and they were purely dedicated to writing the Bible by hand. I'm not sure how long ago it was, but they would literally write the entire Bible by hand before typing was a thing. So that's what this newly deaf person had to do, and it was shitty He wanted the internet. He didn't want to, like, give up his whole life. But it helped him truly understand what it means to be deaf and to accept it.
Yeah.
And, you know, he would play with kids. He would go to sign class, and there was, like, all these other deaf kids. It was just, like, a really nice community to be a part of. And it was like, oh, I'm not the only one out
Did he
there.
end up giving up his stuff?
Yeah, he gave up. He had to give up his phone, but he kept, like, sneaking around and, like, using the internet to, like, text his girlfriend. Because he had a girlfriend that was a part of his band. And,
okay.
He was trying to sneak around and try to get the implants. But this one deaf guy, like the leader of the whole deaf community, didn't like that.
Well, yeah.
And the reason why he was like, you know, we're a community of deaf, and anyone who disagrees with that isn't a part of the community. Anyone who wants to hear, like, because deafness is a way of life.
Yeah.
If you go against that way of life, then you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
So he had the drummer was like, I'm getting these implants. I just need a few more days, you know, because he didn't have a lot of money. The guy was like, nope, gotta go.
Really?
Just let him go. And he got the implants, and they sucked.
That sucks.
They sucked, and that's like $40,000 right there.
Yeah.
And he saved up so much money. And at the end, he was like looking around with the headphones on. He heard like cars, people walking, people screaming, kids. It was just like annoying. He looked at trees, and the trees were like annoying too. He took them off. Everything was beautiful, beautifully quiet.
Did he go back to the?
He just took off the implants.
Was that the end of the movie?
Yeah.
Did you really like it?
I thought it was pretty good. The ending was like, I was kind of like hoping for more like chutzpah or like something more flaring than that, like so something more exciting than that.
Yeah.
It kind of just showed like it's not all about.
Well, there is beauty and simplicity.
Yeah, exactly. It compared like what sound is like, looking at trees and then the cars, and they took it off, and it showed what life is like without that. It's kind of pretty in a way.
But yeah.
But it requires a lot of time to get used to.
Yeah. People whenever I watch I watched there's a Will Smith interview, and he is talking about the small wall between the greatest experiences in our life and the scariest things in our life, and one of those things is skydiving. Like, everybody looks at it and they're like, oh wow, that's really scary, I would never do that. But once you go beyond that once you go beyond what you think is possible, what you think your limit is as a person, he says you find the greatest experiences. And he described that the moment that you're flying up in that plane, and as you're about to jump out, it's the most chaotic thing in the world. Like, you're listening to a plane, which is extremely loud. There's people yelling 3, and you're trying to talk to people through this radio,
and you're filling up with regret. Like, I can't do this. I'm not jumping.
And then he said that the moment that you jump and you're falling, it's so quiet, and it's
really,
you're just there with like, obviously there's wind.
Yeah.
But it becomes white noise, and it's just the background. And he said it's the most... It's just so peaceful.
I wonder what... Because, you always have cameras that pick up the audio, but I wonder what it actually sounds like. Yeah. Because when you're wearing... I'm not sure if you have ear protection.
Yeah, I don't know. But just the way that... I just thought it was cool that he found... Peace and literally falling to your... Not to your death, but
potential death.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes the parachutes don't work.
Yeah.
And that's what's scary.
Well, it's the same with... What's his name? I know his name is Alex. I don't know his last name. That guy that does all the freehand climbing and like Yosemite and stuff.
Where is he? Does he own a company?
He's a you can search him up if you want. He's a
yeah, let me see.
He's a free I don't know what they call it. It's like a free climber. He does.
Is he a celebrity, or like is he well known?
He's pretty popular.
He's a mountain climber? Yeah. And he died, right?
No. Most people use ropes and harnesses when they're climbing.
Oh, Alex Honnold?
Yeah, this guy. But he doesn't use harnesses.
What? That's crazy. See, I can't do that.
He climbs these crazy faces with nothing. Literally and he finds peace in that, yeah.
I cannot find peace in that. I would never be able to find peace.
That's crazy.
There's something stressful about not having security. I don't know if I believe that. Like, maybe he does.
Well, I feel like I understand slightly. I mean, obviously, I would never do that.
Yeah. I think the only reason why I can't understand is that everyone has unique mentality. Like, everyone perceives experiences differently.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a peacefulness in just being alone. And
yeah,
I think
that aspect, but being alone and climbing something 600 feet in the air, it's like, without security, that scares the shit out of me. I can't imagine doing that. No, I'd have to have some kind of security. Like, that reminds me of that time when I went sailing, and I went aboard the Oliver Hazard Perry for a week.
Oh, yeah.
And based in Rhode Island. And that was probably the coolest experience I ever had in my entire life.
This is the one where you climbed that mast, right?
Yeah. I climbed a mast, and I climbed I can't remember. It's sad I forgot the name of the ship. The parts of the ship. The crow's nest. There.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the highest point.
Like where the pirate with the...
Yeah.
The telescope sits.
And pretty much like almost halfway through, it's like a free climb. Like without any equipment. Because it's counterintuitive to climb... strap on.
Yeah.
Climb, take off the hook, the climb. You just keep going, because if anything, there's more room for error when you keep hooking off, climbing. The scariest part is I'm trying to remember the names of the parts of the. There's certain lines that almost look like crosshatches. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like that go in.
Yeah. Yep.
They use that to climb. I gotta look up the name of that. But you're climbing the rope. It's black, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
It goes inward.
And they're sort of like in they're like in those obstacle courses that you have to jump up.
Yeah, exactly. Let me look up parts of a ship. It's sad that I don't remember. I was just more so enthralled in the moment of things.
Yeah.
And developing relationships with people. Oh, shrouds. Right. Shrouds, that's what they're called. So they go inward towards the center of the ship. And then there's a certain part where you have to climb the reverse of that. And that's the scariest part.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of the ship where you reach a certain height, and then you literally have to go on your back to start climbing.
Yeah.
And you're like...
yeah.
It's super scary because you're also not carrying any... You're not hooked on anything. It's only until you literally get on top of the platform is when you can hook on.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell's the point if I'm like climbing? That scared the living shit out of me.
But you did it.
But then I kept conquering it. Then I kept going higher.
Yeah.
And I kept going higher. But then there were certain limits. I'm like, there was such a high point where I'm like, okay, no.
Yeah, well, there's nothing else you can do.
Yeah, like, it's crazy because we also had to unfurl the masts, and you have to do that by hand.
Yeah.
You have to literally be on the mast and unfurl the fabric. Mm-hmm. And you're on the edge, hooked on, but you're literally tippy-toes on. And that was a crazy experience. And you're so scared that you can't even speak. You're like, oh. You know what, that empty stomach feeling where everything drops? That's where I was. Like, I wanted to call out for help, but I was perfectly fine. And I had to realize that I was fine.
Imagine you did call out for help.
Yeah, I know. That would look like a little bitch, and I didn't want to do that. But at the same time, I came to the conclusion, I'm hooked in. I'm fine.
Yeah.
If I fall, I'm going to be okay.
Well, then imagine being this Alex guy and being 100 feet off the ground and not being clipped in at all.
What are you going to do? At least I'd carry a parachute with me, for God's sake.
Parachute?
Yeah, so if I fall, I can,
throw it. Like those base climbers, base jumpers.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's so cool, base climbing. And I think at some point I want to try skydiving.
I want to too. I think we should all do it before we leave.
Oh, dude, that's scary.
That would be so.
You know who I think that wouldn't do it, Vinny? We'd be up there and Vinny would.
I don't think he would do it. I'm sorry. He's probably gonna hear this. But. He's
gonna be. No, I think that he will do it, but it's gonna take him a lot longer.
Yeah.
And I think I can't even act like I'll have any more bravery because I'm going to be shitting my pants too.
Yeah, me too.
All of us will be,
It's easy to say it now, but we're also not
exactly.
on the edge of a
We're talking shit, but at the end of the day, it's probably going to be me who's at the very back of the line, not wanting to jump out.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that we all should do.
Well, I think that would, those kind of experiences together would be great to have before we all. I know you've graduated, but.
I'm still, here in a way,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think once, I think after this year, and maybe even after Matt graduates, it's going to be completely different.
Yeah, we're going to be parting ways, so in a way, we want to build as many shared but unique experiences together before we part ways and start our own lives, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of sad how that works, but, you know, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
And part of me wishes that we reunited a lot sooner. Because, you know, you and I have only been friends for, like reunited for, 4 years, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
But, we knew each other a lot longer. Well, there was just, like, a space between.
I always wonder, and I think I agree with you, it would have been nicer if we had more time together, but I always wonder what might have been the result if we didn't have that space.
Yeah.
Like, imagine we did. Like, imagine that we were always together, and how might that affect?
Exactly.
You know?
So I have to be content with where I am now.
Yeah.
And where we are now.
And we just have to do what we can now before, you know.
Yeah. And not like, oh my God, we have to do this, but, you know, things should be natural, and we should be okay with this transition of parting ways, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's like a bucket list at this point, trying to get things done and.
But it's also important not to rush it, because then you don't enjoy
right, exactly. Forcing things and trying to put something there that's not really there. You know?
I really do think a road trip is a conclusion to a friend trip.
Yeah. Do you think it's really a conclusion? Like
it's not. No, you know what I mean. I mean, it's a good.
That's even I labeled it as that, and I have to ask myself: is it? You know, is it?
I don't think it's a conclusion, but it's the end of a chapter.
Yeah, a really long chapter.
Like that. Oh God. I know this is so cheesy to say, but, you know, like, remember, I've seen freaking TikToks on this, so I feel like a loser saying it, but being in, like, middle school and getting our passwords and our usernames for our Pluto server at school, and they would say, oh, your password is your first name and your last name, and then 21, or 20, whatever yours was. And
dude, I was homeschooled, bro.
Well, yeah, but you ended up getting the password.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, 21, you know, what's that number mean? And it's like,
I know.
You graduate. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
It seemed so far away, but
yeah,
it came by so
and
quickly.
Now it's here.
I know. I know, right? It's literally here, and it's in a... it's not what we expected at all.
It's very frightening. I remember thinking, I've always enjoyed, like, planning things out. And my sister makes fun of me for it, but I'll sit at home and I'll be on like those, like the Zillow and Realtor websites and look at like houses. Yeah. Like, oh, where do I want to live when I'm older? And I did the same thing when I was in the 5th and 6th grade. I'd always search up like different colleges and things. And I would think, well, where do I want to go to school? And then obviously in the 7th and 8th grade, I knew I wanted to apply to the service academies. And then
7th and 8th grade?
Yeah, I knew. I mean, I knew I wanted to apply to the Naval Academy at least.
That's great.
And now, like, it's here, and this is it. Right? This is literally it.
It's there's like this paradox where, as you get older, your life appears to go by way faster. I don't
know. Maybe if it's because of COVID this year, but this year is flying by.
I know. I feel like just 2 months ago this disease started. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah, I just feel like I did not expect to be a year through the shit.
No, not at all. And I remember New Year's last year, and just how much I've changed from New Year's is so scary.
What do you mean? How have you changed?
Well, I think that the things that I'm focused on now, I'm focused on graduating, and I'm focused on getting accepted to one of these schools. At that time, I wasn't really thinking about that.
Yeah, you're just trying to live in the moment.
Yeah, well, now it's all I think about.
I know. It's scary, you know? It's scary when you have to go far away.
Yeah.
Away from family and have to go through something rigorous. Going through that, just 2 weeks was too much for me. But I was like 15 when I went to this Naval Sea Cadet boot camp.
Yeah.
And that was the scariest shit I've ever gone through.
Yeah.
You're everything, pure responsibility on yourself and others.
Yeah, I think in those moments, you really discover yourself. And I think that with the most... I wrote this thing down one time. The scariest thing is not actually completing something. The scariest thing is completing something and then finding out that it's not what you want to do. I wrote that... I'll see if it's in my notes.
Sure. And just 1 second, I'm going to pause this real quick so I can save, so we'll make sure we don't lose anything.
Yeah, let's close on this little quote I wrote down.
Sure, 1 second. We're at 35 minutes. So
okay. Yeah, so I was thinking one day, we're given things in life.
Yeah.
And then we earn things in life. And I think that the scariest moment and the point of no return is the moment where we discover that everything we've been working for, what you thought you wanted, is not what you actually wanted. So I wrote...
Hey, do you mind if I just say this real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Sure. All right. So you wrote something.
Yeah, so I think it might be a little bit cheesy, but I was in the moment when I wrote this and I was driving by myself.
Okay.
I said, accept what is given, but contemplate what is earned. Effort should be expended with most intention and understanding, and great instability is bestowed upon the man who pursues positions that do not align with his passions and do not appeal to his distinct character. So I was
Yep.
I was sort of reflecting on everything I've ever wanted, and I remember like thinking, there was a time where I wanted to go to Stanford, and I was like, this is what I want. Of course I'm a younger person, so my passions aren't as deep as they are now. But
right.
Imagine not having the time or the motivation to reflect on that. And I think many people do it, and I've done it before, where you do something and you work towards something, and then you realize that it's not what you want.
Yeah,
it's very scary. So as we're maturing, I think all of us, I think you and me and Vinny, we're all really discovering our passions. And sometimes we think we know what we want, and then when we get it, we don't want it.
Yeah, and you work so hard for it.
And I think that is even scarier than us separating and being alone and, not being able to hang out every night like we do most of the time,
Yeah.
But those two things, moving on and leaving what we've created and creating something more that we're not even sure if we want because we haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah, exactly. That's life's like an unknown abyss. You're going into it with open arms, and you have to have it open arms. You have to put yourself out there, even if it's not what you want. I've come to the point where I didn't even know if I wanted to do engineering.
Yeah.
I was 11 years old when I told myself I want to be an engineer.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still have that, but it's kind of diminishing.
Yeah.
Either I have less of a passion, or it's the fact I've come to know what engineering truly is, and that it may be too difficult for me to do.
Yeah.
Because I suck at math, and I don't know why. And the only reason why I can get through it is because I will spend hours and hours on an assignment that only has 20 questions.
Yeah.
Like, I started probably at 2 o'clock today and ended at, 6. And we were just doing...
Like, right when I got here, you were still working.
Yeah. Right when you walked in. And I finished literally a review on derivatives.
Yeah, yeah.
And we haven't even gotten into the meat of Calc 2 yet. And that's scary for me. Like, is that what I want to do as an engineer? And unfortunately, life doesn't pay what you pursue your passions in.
Well, it's also important to dive head first rather than tip your toes in the water. Do you think, you know what I mean? Like, I think that I know that's silly, but like...
No, yeah, exactly. Like, you sometimes, it has to be a calculated dive, But just like in swim season, when you dive into that water, it has to be with a lot of calculation. It's a big risk, but it's calculated. And that's how life should be. I had to calculate the risk. I want to do engineering. Why? Pays a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
What's even a bigger risk is pursuing what you love.
Yeah.
Why? Because it doesn't pay for shit.
No,
I love music. I'm not going to make a dime with it.
No.
You know how much money I made with music? $2.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was from one dude who supported my work, and his name is Sean.
Shout out to Sean.
Shout out to Sean. His last name, I don't know if you care if I give it, but I'll say it another time. Maybe when I get permission. He's a great dude, and he always supported my music, and he was always there with every milestone.
Yeah. That's pretty
Maybe
cool.
An extra 20 views. That's my milestone.
Well, I don't know. You might not want to say this, and you don't have to. But have you met this Sean in person?
Yeah. No, yeah. We went to Mass Maritime Academy together.
Oh, okay, cool.
We didn't, obviously, go to Mass Maritime Well, he's actually, I'm not sure if he graduated. I think he might have graduated, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually went to Mass Maritime Academy, but we went to a program together for a few days for Mass Maritime Academy to see what it's like.
Oh, cool.
And we were roommates. Oh my god, he was the coolest dude ever.
Roommate meeting!
Yeah, that's a skit we were thinking of. Yeah. But he was, the moment I walked in the room, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, I don't want a douchey roommate. Like, I don't want this asshole. Yeah. And then the moment I looked at him in the face and shook his hand, I already knew, like, this guy is going to be my best friend for these next few days. Yeah. And he ended up being it.
I think it's interesting how fast we make friends.
I know, right? It's
like, cool. Our relationship is, I think it's, compared to some of my other friends, it's old, but it's very strong. But I remember going, like, similar, I know it's not military, but the camp that I went to was MASC camp at Worcester State. Yep. And I remember not really my roommates. My roommates were from Middleborough, and Middleborough takes about 300 kids to camp every year, and there's like 1,000 kids there. So, jeez. So they usually all group up and leave. So I was in my room alone one night, my first years, and I was writing my magic notes, which are these notes you write to everybody in your council before the last day. So everybody stays up all night and writes these magic notes. They're like a page each. Yep. And there's like 12 people in your council. So I was spending all night writing these notes. And I remember I was on one side of the building, and on the other side I could hear people laughing, and they sounded like they were having fun. So I picked up my notebook. I don't know why I chose to do this, but I picked up my notebook and I picked up my pen and I went into this room. And there was there was 3 kids, and one of them was from Middleborough. His name was Nick. One kid was from, I don't know, but he was very tall. I forget where he was from. And one other kid was just sitting there talking. And it was probably around 2 a.m, and we stayed up until about 10.
Oh my god, what?
And
10 in the morning?
Yeah. We skipped breakfast. We had to write our magic note. And 10 was our council meeting. So we stayed up all night. And I felt like, at the end of the night, I felt like these kids were my best friends. And I was having such a great time. But, yeah, it's really weird how fast that happened. And I wanted to mention, I just heard this quote. It might have been in a video today. I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts, so.
Now we're in one.
Well, I don't know where I heard it, but somebody said, and it has to do with what we were speaking about earlier about knowing what you want to do and how it's hard to figure it out sometimes. Yep. It's better to be... What did they say? It's better to be halfway up the ladder that you know you want to be on than on the top of the ladder that you're not really sure about. Like, I don't know. I think that's... I thought of that when we were talking, and I thought, like, that sort of relates.
Yeah. I think... But it's almost like the opposite for me. Like, I think I'm towards the top, and it's something that I'm not sure about. And I think it's just the degree of difficulty. And I have to accept the fact that engineering is hard. It's not easy. Well, yeah. I have to go through, like my brother Dylan, when he went to Mass Maritime Academy, he would stay up all night, and he would be at midnight, and he would be studying until 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. And
well, it's hard
studying engineering.
That's probably one of the reasons you chose to do it subconsciously. Because
exactly. It was in light of my brother Dylan. Yeah. Like, I heard about engineering. I heard about what it does, or what the operations of engineering. I fell in love with it, and like recently, I've come across a new perspective as to why I want to go into engineering. Like, as a religious person, I've come to the conclusion that I want to understand the physical universe because I'm so interested in God. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that will push me through. And I think that, hopefully special graces will be bestowed upon me by Christ because I want to study His universe. Yeah. Not just the universe, but His. And if I think if I have that mindset, it'll help me carry through. Yeah. And sometimes it's okay to be at the top of the ladder of something you're not sure about. Yeah. Life's a risk. And at the end of the day, you're not going to know what you really want in life, like you were saying.
Well, it's definitely... I'm only 18, but it seems like, and my dad has told me this plenty of times, taking risks is there's a fine line between being risky and between being reckless.
Right, exactly.
And it's important to be risky when you can be. And
Right.
it's sort of, I know Vinny says this a lot, now that he watched Dead Poet Society, is Carpe Diem.
Carpe Diem.
And I think it means in Latin is seize the moment.
Seize the day.
Seize the day?
Yep.
Yeah.
Seize the day.
And I feel like that sort of motivates a lot of things that we do. And I really am proud of that.
Really?
I think that, like, last time I was in this room, it was probably, I remember it was about 3 a.m, and it was probably around 32, 33 degrees.
It was cold. I just remember saying, we got to pack a lot of sweatshirts in our backpacks.
Yeah.
Or we brought one backpack.
And we went on a run. I don't know why we did that. It makes no sense to do that.
It was like something we wanted to do.
And it's not like we're not crazy athletic runners. We're just amateur kids.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought that was like a lot of the things that we've done as friends and a lot of the places we've gone, I've really related to that quote. And I almost used it as my senior quote, but I didn't.
You didn't? What'd you put it as?
I used a quote that my dad came up with a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
Never waste it.
Never waste it?
But I think that relates just as much to Carpe Diem.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't waste the moment. Seize the day.
And don't let it go to waste.
Yeah, because you're not going to get it again. We're never going to get this year again. We're never going to get high school again. This moment right now, we're never going to get
this
it
conversation.
Again.
It's something that it will be lost in the infinite time of space.
Yeah. Well, it's sad, but I think it's pretty cool at the same time.
Yeah, it makes me think, like 5 years from now, we might not even think about this conversation. It may not even be in our heads.
Well, I think that's great. I think it's great that we're recording it because then we can.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is cool.
Hopefully curiosity, or wherever we post this.
Even if it's just this personal thing.
Yeah, I know. Because, I really like podcasts as much as people, look down upon it. Oh, you fucking loser. You like to talk in front of a mic for a few hours.
It's so fun.
It holds on to certain words that will never be said in any certain way again.
Yeah.
Like, the order that we say this will never be admitted from our mouths.
And the meaning behind it and the thought process behind it is so unique because we're different people.
And I have hopefully it scares me because sometimes I forget where it's stored, but I have a recording of my grandfather, 2 recordings actually.
Yeah.
About life, the meaning behind it, and it's just a connection between he and I recorded.
Yeah.
And that recording will always be there.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember what his voice sounds like because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to remember how someone sounds, but his voice will always be captured in this data file, whatever it is. I think it's in my dad's office. I hope to God that's not lost because it's not on this laptop, that's for sure. And I just don't want to lose that, you know. And he has a cancer now, and it's kind of death is bound to come, and I'm coming to that point where I have to accept that. I've never endured an immediate family tragedy before, and I'm trying to prepare myself for this. And it's difficult, but it's something that's necessary. We have to all die.
Yeah.
That's the only way. We can't. I'm never going to try to elongate my life. I'm not going to take some magical fucking steroid or whatever or an injection to live 200 years because I really want to believe that we're going somewhere after this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think I would say I'm in a pretty... I mean, it's a little beyond that, but I think I'm a little in a similar situation. My dad's dad, not my mom's dad. My mom's parents are both still alive, but my dad's dad, I never met him. And he passed away about a year before Olivia was born.
Mm-hmm.
So I never met him. I've never listened to him. But I've been told by my Nana that I'm very similar to him when he was younger.
Really?
So I get very curious when I think about him and what he was like as a person. Because all I've heard is that he's a great person. But I'd like to experience his unique styles and talking, and it's just cool to experience people.
Exactly. Personal experiences are probably the most valuable thing you can know.
Yeah.
And it's not just listening from one person, but hearing all kinds of people, no matter where they stand on life.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear them because...
Not even in what they speak about, but how they speak and how they react to different things.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is a... So my grandfather played the accordion.
Yep.
And he had recordings of... he would record himself playing sometimes. But he would talk, too, in between songs. And my dad, as a really, really young boy, would come into the room and, like... he's just a little kid, and in these recordings you can hear my dad. Obviously, I've never heard my dad as a little kid, and he has these recordings.
What on what kind of?
So they used to be on tapes because they were, like the old school tape recorders that they used in interrogations rooms in like the 70s and 80s. That's what he used. But my family, so my dad's siblings, all my aunts and uncles, they got together. I think it was for my Nana's birthday a couple of years ago. And they turned them all into CDs.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've been begging my dad to dig them out for me. We just have to find them. They're in the house somewhere. He definitely has them. But now my dad does the same thing with his tape recorder. Everywhere we go, and every Christmas or holiday or birthday, he records it.
He doesn't use video?
He does. He uses video. My papa didn't.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't available at the time. But my dad seems to have the same sort of goals, which I think is really cool because someday we'll be able to look back at that.
He may or may not remember those moments with him.
My dad?
Yeah, your dad.
Yeah,
and his dad.
Yeah, he won't.
Sitting in that room with the accordion and just talking, and like me now, and a lot of people, we want to capture memories, and I think this is a great way to do it by recording a podcast.
Yeah.
It's just something that I'd like to hold on to.
I think it's fascinating to understand how somebody's thinking at a certain time. Especially when it's that far back.
Yeah.
As these recordings get older, they're going to become more and more fascinating. Because my dad, as a 10-year-old boy, would never guess that he would have a son named Myles someday that would be talking about him right now in a different recording.
That's so beyond.
It's kind of weird to wrap your head around, but
yeah.
He was just, it's crazy to have a recording from one piece in time, and now to look back at that and we're doing the same thing.
I know it. It's been a lost word sometimes to think about that.
Yeah, it's crazy, but
it makes me want to sit here and think about that.
Well, I think it adds on to that, the importance of not being ungrateful for what we have in the moment, and how much time we have as young people, and how much time we have left as older people.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's scary, but it's also beautiful in a way.
Yeah, because as you near death, you cherish the moment more, or you try to anyway.
Yeah.
And you try to cherish the moment in combination with additional stresses in life. It's almost counterintuitive.
Yeah.
How can you cherish the moment as you're nearing death, but also manage these stresses in life?
Yeah. Well, sometimes I think that, again, I'm only 18, so I've only experienced so many things, but
yeah.
I remember working at Teresa's. It's not like boot camp, but it's definitely not easy.
Yeah,
and
I heard they're tough on you.
I as much as it sucked, washing stovetops and trying to understand Italian, and just different stuff that you just that you don't want to do because it's not comfortable.
Right.
Considering all of those, I love that place.
Yeah.
And the friends that I made there, it's such a weird experience. And
it's weird because you hate it in the moment.
Yeah.
But then you look back and oh shit, I love that.
And I compare it to a lot of other things like running.
Yeah.
You're running in the moment, you hate it, but the second you're done, you're like, dude,
I did that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's very strange.
Yeah, I know. That time when I was in boot camp, I always bring up that. It's just it's the most pivotal moment in my life. Boot camp, sailing for a week, all that shit. It definitely transformed me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cool how I think it's really interesting how it seems like you definitely in the moment were learning at this boot camp, and even the days after coming home you were learning. But I think it's interesting that now, years after reflecting on it, it's had much more of an impact now than when you were actually getting screamed at in the face in the moment.
Yeah, because it's something that you miss, you know.
Yeah, and now
I miss being screamed at.
Yeah.
Like, who says that?
It's strange.
No one says that.
No.
You know, I hate being screamed at by my dad or whatever, but when you're in a setting, a military setting, that you know is to benefit you because, you know, the military has been here for hundreds of years, and you know that it was developed and calculated in a certain way to make you stronger. Yeah. I look back at that and I'm like, wow, I really missed that. Yeah. Obviously, it wasn't real military, but pretty close to it, you know? Yeah. And even though I know that the people who were yelling at me were literally just a couple years older than me, it makes you even think even more. Like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Sometimes I think, obviously they're cool experiences, but sometimes I think we cherish things in the past simply because they are in the past.
Well, yeah, exactly. I would agree with that because we'll never, ever reach that. And maybe that's the reason why, and we don't even actually miss this. Maybe we actually hate that. Yeah. Like, if I were to go back to that, I would not want to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. If I went back to Teresa's, I would hate it.
Right. But I think there's exceptions. Because some people do get that chance to... I think Gavin's trying to sneak down here. Yeah. I hear a door handle moving. Sometimes people do get that ability to... they will be able to do that again. To do whatever they missed in the past. Yeah. And they will actually enjoy it.
Well, I think that it'd be interesting to see where or how we would feel if we entered those things again. Yeah. Or would we really be like, oh, I'm so happy to get yelled at again?
Yeah, and I don't think in the moment I'd be like, hell yeah, sure, petty officers, make me do 20 push-ups. Because I can recount that when I went to that Coast Guard boot camp. Why can't I remember it? You know,
AIM program.
Yeah, exactly. AIM, Academy Introduction Mission. There we go. I hated it.
Yeah.
So it's like, but now I look back at it again. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. It's
strange. But it's just because when you're getting yelled at in the moment, you're shitting your pants, but then you look back, it's hilarious. Yeah. And the things you would do are funny. You know, I would make fun of the cadres. We would be like they set themselves up to be like mocks. The cadres would say, all right, in your notebooks or your handbooks, write whatever superhero you think we all look like. And there was this one dude with thick eyebrows. His name's Maxwell Buchanan, and I think I'm allowed to put his name out there because he's a part of the Coast Guard Academy, and he's pretty cool, and I hope he doesn't mind. He had eyebrows that were so, not bushy, but thick.
They're very,
thick, and that was probably the most noticeable thing about his face.
Well, what was the superhero for him?
I said the Wolverine.
Oh my God.
And that was probably the perfect example.
Yeah, it was good. Did anybody else say that?
No, I don't think so.
Wow.
We all had our own funny little things. And it was like, and I roasted them because I gave an explanation as to why. Yeah. I was like, because you got thick eyebrows, boy. And and after they found out, they actually were laughing.
Yeah.
But then this one dude of a different division.
Yeah.
He was this big, bulky dude. He wasn't much taller than me, but he was like the Hulk.
Yeah.
And he came up to me, walked right in my face and spit in my... Not literally, but as he was screaming, he was spitting. He was like, if you ever make fun of my other cadres again, I will find you and hunt you down outside of this boot camp. You understand me? And I was like, yes, cadre... Or you'd have to say... there was a certain way of addressing them. Okay, let me think. Mr. Buchanan, sir. Yes, Mr. Buchanan, sir. You would say their name, say yes, and end it with their name. That's how I had to address them. And I was like, yes, blah, blah, blah. And then he just walked away. And I was in the middle of the hallway where everyone watched me.
Was that... I think my two favorite stories from your trip to AIM are... Number one, my number one story all time is the cover story.
Oh my God.
And the second one would be, I think it was Cadre Cox, and you had to guess what his first name
I don't even want to go through the first one. That was just sad and pitiful. I don't even know.
I like the moment.
And it wasn't even my fault.
No.
I'll talk about it.
I like when you tell the part about when, like, not. I mean, it's the whole thing is great, but the part where you're you're standing outside the building and they're like, "Look at Brandon. He is menacing." What is?
He's wincing in pain. Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically, we're on a jog.
Oh, that is so funny.
We were all part of we're all marching in formation, but then we started jogging, and it was windy. It was I think it was a windy, rainy day, and I was literally it's so funny, dude. I was calling the cadence. Left, lefty, righty, low. I stopped calling the cadence because the wind took my cover.
It's like that. Have you obviously the SpongeBob movie?
Yeah.
You know how King Neptune's daughter gives Patrick that bag of air so they can get back.
Yeah.
And SpongeBob's reading the instructions, and he's like, "Hold the bag below your arm," and he's like, "Check." And then he's like, remove the string, open the bag. He's like, check, and he goes and flies off. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, and then you're shitting your pants because if you lose your cover, you're brutally fucked. You are screwed. And the reason why is because if you lose your cover, you have to have a replacement for your cover.
Yeah.
And that is your bare bone hands. And you have to throw your hand up in front of your forehead and start flapping it. Start flapping it because you lost your cover. But the thing is, the reason why I despise that memory wasn't even my fault.
Yeah, it was
just the wind. And I wish I was an exception. I told them, I was like, "Cadre, I lost my cover because of the wind." And they looked at me. Oh no, they saw it fly off.
Yeah.
They looked at me, and I think they just didn't know what to do.
Yes, they're like, "Okay,
let's just screw that kid. It's not happening to me." But I don't like that I had to throw my hand up because I lost it.
Yeah, for about what, like 2 hours?
Yeah, it was like an hour and a half, and I was doing exhausting exercises, and I had to, as soon as I was done, I had to throw my hand back up in front of my forehead.
Yeah.
And I know it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but if you have to contract your arm up in front of your forehead for like hours, it's shitty.
After doing probably like 100 push-ups.
Yeah, so exactly. We would do a lot of exercises. So then we were in formation. I was still flapping my hand, and we were going inside of a building. We had to go in a building. But it's not that easy. You have to, in order to break formation, there's a very specific way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it's the exact same way as the Navy, but I remember knowing exactly how to break formation.
Yeah.
Like how to get out of it. And the three people who were in front of the columns, that's what they're called, they're columns of people, didn't know how to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And my hand was still up there. I was like, come on, it's not that fucking hard.
Yeah.
And then I started crying. I was in that much pain.
Because when you enter the building, you're allowed to take your cover off. So
exactly.
you'd be able to put your hand down.
Right. Exactly. Okay. You can't wear your cover inside the building. That's like number one. And I started crying. I was like, oh my God, please get this out. And Mr. Buchanan was like, look at Swabi over here. Why can't you get this shit done? It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Look at Swabi in the back. He is wincing in pain. And like, I'm not sure if it was a combination of me crying to make the kids fucking just get it over with and break formation, or if I was also just genuinely in pain. Like, I think I remember my arm just like being so sore afterwards.
It's just exhaustion.
And then we don't even get to enter the room at the same time, the building.
Yeah.
Because we have to be in a column. And I remember being in the back.
Yeah.
And it sucked. But eventually they did it. Column files from left. First squad forward, march, whatever, like that. That's how you break it, and they couldn't do that. And it's like this. How I'm trying to remember how it goes.
I remember.
Column files from my left. Stand fast. All right, first squad forward. It's something like that.
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about it. Like, it's been so long. And then the second story. There was a guy. Yeah, I know you already know the answer to this.
Yeah, this is good.
There was a guy. His name was Mr. Cox. C-O-X. And he was a badass motherfucker. He was like dashingly handsome. He was like, his last name matched so perfectly. Because you would never, it's like a really sexy guy with a last name being Cox. it's like the perfect thing. No, he was like one of the most good looking guys I've ever seen. And it's probably sounds really homosexual of me to say that, but like, I have to be serious. Well, like you notice things about that people.
Yeah, it's not that you're.
He's probably the most good-looking guy I've ever seen. Like, I'm just gonna say that straight out. And we had to go around, and he was at our table, and he was like, "All right, everyone, I want you to guess my name, my first name." We didn't know what his first name was. We never said it. It was always Mr. Cox, Mr. Buchanan, yada yada yada. It was always the last name. And some guy whose voice was thrashed. Mr. Cox was like, "Okay, yeah, you go. What's my first name?" Like, "Sir, this Aimster thinks your name is Harry Cox, sir." And Mr. Cox. Oh my God! There was 3 other cadres at the table, and they just they couldn't hold in their laughter, and it was so funny because you always see them with a straight face. You never see them smile.
Yeah.
And if they do smile, it's with the calculated, it's devious, it's to scare the shit out of you. But they were literally just like laughing, and he's like, "You think my name?" They
broke character.
Exactly. And when you see them break character, that's when they're vulnerable. Yeah. You don't want that. Like as a cadre, you don't want that to happen. Yeah. You cannot be vulnerable to these people because then they'll take advantage of you. They won't listen to you. You know, you have to instill that leadership and that respect. And the only way to instill that is by never showing your vulnerability. Yeah. Think of them as rock solid hulks. And that's what they were. They were scary. They were tall. You know, even the short ones would scare the shit out of me. Why? Because they had a certain character that they would never break. But when they laughed, it kind of made us all laugh. Yeah. But it was towards the end of our boot camp.
So it was kind of.
So it was okay to break character a little bit. You know, it was okay to laugh, and that's why they asked, "What's my first name?" To make it funny. It, you know.
Well, he must have known that somebody was going to say that.
Yeah, I think he might have had that in the first place. Like. Yeah. Okay, really? What are you going to put with the first name as?
Well, before you left, did they break character at all? Like, were you?
Yeah, when we left, they were totally chill, and sometimes, like throughout the whole week, there would be moments where it was a pure learning session, and it was just completely colloquial. We would just talk to them like normal people.
Yeah, but then the moment you go back...
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's so weird.
I know, it is weird. And it's like, it's that change of an environment, it's like
you don't know how to
eerie, you know? Yeah. It's eerie.
Yeah. It's like they have that split syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it just makes you like, when are they going to just snap back in? Are they going to like kill me now? But it's like whenever we're inside the building, they're nice, but when we're outside, they're pure monsters. Yeah. And one time we went on a boat ride.
You were at the academy for this, weren't you?
Yeah, we were at the Coast Guard Academy.
That's so cool, dude.
It was so fucking cool, dude. And, you know, we'd see the flags being changed and everything. And we went on this boat ride, and we were with the cadres, and we were just talking normally. Yeah. Why? Probably because of not being watched. Yeah. Maybe that's why. Because when we were on the ship, we were like, it was so cool. Yeah. And I think maybe they also did that. They also broke character because it was super technical to maneuver the ship, and it required everyone's attention. Yeah. And I think if they're under a lot of stress, it's not going to help. And we were just kids, so you know, they went a little easier. And I just can't imagine what it's like to stay there for 8 weeks, you know. I can't imagine. Because even just a week is sucky. Yeah. You know? I think I have to just develop that mental strength.
Well, yeah, I feel like there's a point you get to where there's like a point of ultimate discipline where it just becomes normal routine. Yeah. You know, people that do things every day, when you build... different instincts, it becomes routine. It's not really stressing.
I think if I were to go on an 8-week boot camp now, I'd probably be a lot better. Having gone through Naval Sea Cadet boot camp for 2 weeks, the 8-week boot camp, I think I'd be able to handle it, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
It's just the thing I hate most is being away from family. The idea of isolation, being away from people I don't know. Yeah. Or being away from people I do know and people I don't know. Yeah. But that's become a little bit easier.
I spoke to during every interview, not interview, but every call, I guess you could say, with different cadets or midshipmen, whether it's the Naval Academy or the Coast Guard Academy or the Merchant Marine Academy, they've all said, when I asked them, what was the hardest part for you? They say that matriculation process, moving from being a citizen, like a kid that does whatever they want, to somebody that lives a regimented lifestyle, and for the most part, it's usually only a few weeks, which is which is tiny compared to like how much time you're going to spend on your future and how much time you spent in your past, was the hardest part for them. But then afterwards, once you've achieved that, it's so easy.
That's probably the biggest relief of your life.
Well, yeah, because you're
graduating from boot camp is the hugest relief.
Yeah.
Like, even just 2 weeks, like I don't even want to, because I know people have gone through a lot more than me, and I don't want to ever say like, oh my god, 2 weeks is so much. But as a 15-year-old kid, it is a lot.
Well, and it's completely subjective, so you can't blame yourself.
But I want to give all the respect to those who have spent the 8 weeks there, who have gone through years of military and combat. So whatever I went through was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But for me at the time, it was shitty.
Yeah.
But I went through it, and I carried on, and I think it was a positive transformation for me, and I think that my parents tried to make it so that I would go through all these difficult things to eventually go to the Coast Guard Academy.
Yeah, but that's completely your choice.
Yeah. I wish I got accepted to it. If I look back at it, if I did get accepted, I definitely would have gone. But there was that point where, even if I did accept to go there, even if I did get accepted, I was thinking in my head, I don't know if I want to go.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I was genuinely...
Well, and I feel like with that, it's especially being an academy and that sort of process you have to go to, it's hard to know if you feel that way because you genuinely don't want to go, or if you don't want to go through the hardships of being, like going through that process again.
Yeah, the thing I hated was just being away from family. Like, I hated having to write to my parents. Like, it was a scary thing.
Yeah.
I think that's just because I was younger, and I think that I can handle it now.
Yeah.
But I think it's also because of the way I lived. I was always on my phone. Always played video games. Always had instant access to whatever I wanted,
Yeah.
And when that was denied, when I was denied that, it was a lot harder to be okay with just simpler way of life.
Yeah.
I'm always surrounded by my family, so that's what also made it harder.
Yeah.
But I'm done with that now, and I'm probably not going to be in association with any military organization again.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks that's a shame, but I'm okay with where I am now.
Yeah. Well, even if, again, like, you only have so much time, so if you want to pursue it, you should.
Yeah. I'm just...
Whether it means joining the reserves because you're in school now.
Yeah.
Or doing something, or reapplying to one of the academy, it's just...
Yeah.
There's only so much time.
I think right now where I'm at is just getting that degree, being an engineer, raising a family, and being happy with my family, and then eventually, as I age, transition into the afterlife.
Yeah. This is kind of off topic, but do you think you'll always live in Massachusetts?
I've always wanted to live in a place where it's warm all year round.
Yeah.
I hate the cold. Like, it's the worst thing ever. The only thing I like about the cold is that... It's snowboarding, and it's kind of stupid, but I have a wider range of fashion. Like, I love fashion.
Oh, yeah.
I love wearing trench coats. Like, trench coats are so cool. I love wearing scarves, and so I just give them, a wider sense of fashion, but... I like to be in the warmth all the time, It just, that seasonal depression. People become really depressed during winter.
Yeah,
a lot of people commit suicide.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. I hate that. I want to leave that kind of fact. Like, I don't want to be in Massachusetts where people kill themselves because it's winter. Like, that's just a shitty fact.
I think it'll be very interesting to see where we all go.
Yeah, I know.
Because I have a feeling we're not going to be very... I think we'll all go different places.
Vinny's is definitely going to Florida.
Yeah,
he applied literally only in Florida. He got accepted to a few colleges, which is great. But because it's a luxury state, gray, it's warm, I think we'll still be in touch. And I think because he has, property down there, that could be our safe spot to, like, hang out.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Where do you want to go?
I don't know. Like, again, I do this thing a lot where I'll search up houses online, and for one day or even a week, I'll think, I want to live here, and I want to retire here. Yep. Last week I was thinking, I'll probably stay in Massachusetts, and then when I retire, I'll move to Cape Town, South Africa. I actually was like, wow. I was like, I'll do this, and now I'm thinking to myself, no, I want to live in Washington D.C., and then when I retire, I want to move to Vermont or Maine.
Yeah, it's just difficult when if you have kids. Like,
well,
is that something that you want to do?
Well, I don't know. See, these kind of things are hard to... Yeah. Right now, my opinion right now is I want to live in Washington, D.C.
Really?
And I want to... later on, I want to move back up north. And I don't know. It's really strange trying to...
Yeah, I know. And I think that's probably the biggest reason why it's going to be hard to stay as friends is because we're going to be managing if we get married.
Yeah.
Kids. Yeah. Job. Exactly. If we have a job, we're bound to that location.
Yeah.
Unless we take up some crap, like some crazy thing like journalism, where we're always going around the world.
Yeah.
Or any job.
Well, even then, what if your assignment is to go to freaking Cambodia or something?
Exactly. So it no matter if you're a freelancer or going anywhere, you have to go to a specific location, and it's not going to be the same place as where your friends are.
Yeah. I just think that regardless of what happens, say, in the next 20 years, I want to say that I don't know what's going to happen in the next 20 years, but I think in the 20 years after that, I think we'll be reunited.
Yeah, I think so too.
We're somewhat connected.
I think this is what I always have in the back of my mind, that we're going to start drifting away. I'm not saying I'm going to let this happen.
No.
I'm just saying this is just stuff that happens in my mind.
It's natural.
Yeah, we're going to you're going to go to potentially Naval Academy or Coast Guard Academy or any type of military-related regimented academy, and you're going to find friends there. And I'm going to find friends at college, too.
Yeah.
Vinny's going to find friends at college. And because they are instantly there, they're attending the same college as you, you can always talk to them.
It's convenient.
It's convenient, and you're probably going to want to talk to them a lot more because it's more enjoyable to be in their presence than sending a text message saying, hey,
yeah,
miss you, Brandon, or miss you, Vinny. And I think that's what's going to drift us apart.
Yeah.
And that's a sad potential reality, and it's something I have to face. Because you don't always get what you want in life, you know?
No, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
It's not, and it needs to happen.
Yeah,
part of me thinks it needs to happen because I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to keep you from making friends with people.
Yeah, and I would
crazy.
The same.
You know, and if I ever see like a picture online with your new friends, there might be like I might wince in pain a little bit.
Yeah.
And I might be like, oh, dude. But at the same time, I'm going to be really happy, too.
Yeah,
you know, I can't be like, oh, dude, I wish I was there right now. Because that's life.
Yeah. Well, I think that, again, whatever happens in the next 20 years, I have more faith in 20 years after that we'll be settled down, or at least settled enough so that we can see each other and be more connected.
Yeah. I mean, 20 years from now, I'll be freaking 38.
Yeah, so 20 years after that.
Yeah.
So 58.
I'll be, hopefully retired by then.
Yeah.
My kids will be either in college or graduated.
Yeah. And then
I just me and my wife.
Yeah. And I think that next moment will be when we arrive, we'll feel like it's been a snap.
Snap? Like a snap in time?
Yeah. Just like this moment is.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really strange.
And sometimes I fear death, Like, is that something that you fear or no?
My dad and I share this behavior. I'll wake up sometimes in the middle of the night and I'll I don't know if you get this, but there's times where I think about death and I'm like, okay, it's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then there's times that I think about it, and I don't know what's going on around me that causes me to think this way or feel this way, but it's an overwhelming feeling, and it's not knowing what's beyond, and that's terrifying, and it's so overwhelming and scary to me. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I'd have to get up and just walk around the house, and then it's off my mind, and I can go to bed, and I've been doing this since I was 10. And I just realized, I discovered recently, because I was telling my dad about it, that he did the same thing when he was younger, and he was a young, and I was like, oh wow.
That's crazy.
So I don't know.
It's almost like mental patterns are transferred upon their children.
Yeah. Well, I think that no matter what, if everything is completely atheist and there's no afterlife or anything like that, and I don't think there is. I think there is something. But we have to be prepared for the idea or the reality that is there is nothing after we die.
Yeah, well we'll be prepared, but when we die, we won't know.
We won't, but
I have to prepare for nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I'm going to prepare for nothing.
But we can't even understand what nothing is, because
exactly. So, that's why I say, well, why waste my time preparing for something that I won't know? It's like Neil deGrasse Tyson said that we've been dead for billions and billions of years.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be painful when we die. Or when we're dead. It's not going to be painful, because that state of unconsciousness has been... It's true. We have been unalive for billions of years.
Yeah.
So when we do, it's not going to be that shitty.
No.
I think the thing that we fear most is everything up to death. Not death itself. Because what's painful about being dead?
Nothing.
What's painful about approaching death?
Yeah.
A lot of agony and mental torment.
Yeah.
Because your body is degrading, you have bad cancers, and you're thinking about, if you're into biology, you're thinking about the scientific things occurring, the degradation of your body, the telomeres being shortened. It's like, oh my god, all these crazy things are happening to my body. And then I'm dead. And then it's nothing. Yeah. It's silence.
Well, I don't even think it's that, because I think that death is so scary because it's the absence of everything that we're accustomed to and everything that makes us happy. And even if nothing isn't painful or sad, because it's nothing, it's still not everything that we have now. Yeah,
well, I think it's just the idea of not having everything.
Exactly.
That makes us scared, but not having anything is probably much better than the materialistic world we live in.
Well, like you just said, the only, and it's probably nothing like this, the only vague understanding or experience with death that we've all had is
sleeping.
Or not sleeping, I would say before we were born.
Well, then it's not an experience.
Because it's nothing.
Oh, exactly.
Which is most similar to being dead. I mean, hopefully not, but
yeah.
If that's the case, that's what's most similar. Not being born yet.
But we can't even describe that as an experience, though.
Because it's nothing.
Yeah, I know.
But it's...
Are you just trying to, portray that as an experience?
Yeah, I'm trying to make a comparison.
Well, I don't even know what that feels like to not be alive,
But it's... I mean, we kind of understand it in a way.
Yeah, I guess it
Which is weird.
It always feels like I've been here. It always feels like I've been. And I think that's where we get ahead of ourselves. That people try... Well, in the future, people are planning to extend their lives.
Yeah.
So that they'll always have this linear, constant state of consciousness. And I think that needs to just... Our level of consciousness needs to go beyond what we think.
Well, sometimes... Yeah.
And that's why I believe in an afterlife. I want to believe it because the people I love most, I don't want to be gone forever. I don't want my grandfather to be this amazing guy, one of 11 siblings, the only one to go to college, to one day be in a grave, and that's it.
Yeah.
We gotta go somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's a little selfish to think just that, I want to see my family again. I want to be alive again when I'm dead. But what we should also strive for is, a strong love and appreciation for this creator to have given us life.
Yeah, because we don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
So we might as well be grateful for what we have now.
Yeah, and grateful for whoever created the universe, and helped us get to where we are. And it's just, I put something on my story, I think you saw it maybe. An atheist's hope is much different. It's extremely different than a Christian's, an atheist's suffering is much more is extremely different than a Christian's suffering. Where a Christian has hope after death, an atheist has none. And I think that's the sad part about an atheist is that they blame the world. Let me rephrase that. An atheist denies the existence of God because the world is so tragic and full of suffering. Like, that's probably their number one argument.
Yeah.
Like, life's too fucked up and crazy, and so much shit that happens, you know, genocide, domestic abuse, etc.
Yeah.
And it's like, how could there be a God?
I was thinking, I know I've told this to you, and this is sort of maybe a weird thing to bring up, but I really do plan, after I graduate and I'm by myself,
Yeah.
I really do plan on becoming more religious and connected with God.
How come you don't want to start now?
I think that
That's my question.
this chapter now, it really does feel like a chapter, and I'd rather start that at anew, you know?
Yeah.
And I just think that starting it when I'm entering this new stage in life would just be a good idea. But
there's like a new stage, but do you think that life is always developing and that you're constantly going through like sub-stages of life? Like, then tomorrow is another stage.
Well, it is, yeah, but there's a defining moment. It's easier to define what's happening now and what will be happening wherever I do end up going, or wherever you end up going.
Yeah.
I just think that, I don't know, it just feels right for me.
Yeah. Do you think that the idea of this is just to facilitate your goals in life, or do you think that, or do you think that it's actually to worship, you know?
I'm actually genuinely interested in it.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, I wanted to bring this up. I always had the idea, and somebody really changed my mind. I'm not going to say their name or anything.
Yeah.
But I was talking to this person, and I was saying, to them, yeah, I just, sometimes I'm concerned because, say for instance, there's a person, and from the moment that they were born, they've always done the right thing.
Yep.
And, you know, they dedicate themselves to charity, they get good grades, they're nice to everybody, but they don't go to church.
Yeah.
And they don't recognize God. And I was like, there's probably plenty of people out there like that. And I was like, why does that person not deserve to go to heaven? And this person said to me, it's not really about that, but it's about if there is a God, and he made everything for us, and he sacrificed himself for us, he died for us, then not recognizing him is terrible. Because everything you're using around you to be kind and to be charitable is created by God.
Exactly, that's a perfect response.
And it's sort of like using what he's given us without even recognizing him.
Right. Exactly. It's like if it's like you give money to charity, but there's a literal charity fundraising company that's helping you.
Yeah.
And then you're not
helping at all.
And you're not recognizing them.
Yeah.
At all.
So that person said that to me, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, if everything around us is actually created by God, and I'm living in it, and I'm able to be forgiven for everything I've done because of that person, why shouldn't I be recognizing that person and thanking them?
Exactly.
And I was like, holy crap. I was like, that was really, I mean, I don't want to call it an epiphany, but there was like, the person said it, and then I kind of took it in, and later that night I was sitting and I was like, wow.
It made you realize.
Yeah, because I usually think a lot when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
Like everybody does.
Yeah, exactly.
But I really thought about it then.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
And sometimes when you're a strong believer, like I've always gone to church growing up. I probably only missed Sunday Mass like 6 times in my entire life.
Yeah.
And every single, in that, even some people think that's way too many times you've missed church.
Yeah.
But you know, that time when a few years ago, the October power outage, couldn't go to church.
And I remember one time we were in Amherst, on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And we actually, I don't know if we found one, or I think we did find one, but we weren't going to make it back.
Yeah, I was shitting my pants.
Yeah.
But I don't even think we made it, dude. Oh, we did make it.
I think
we did make it. We all went to church. Yeah. I think. Did you go to church with me?
Was it at All Saints?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you, me, and Vinny went.
Yeah.
And Jersey. I think Jersey was there.
Yeah. I think Monero was there too. Yeah, we just rushed there as fast as we could. We stopped everything we were doing. I think we were trying to get like
We were at Mission Cantina.
Yeah, Mission Cantina.
That was
exactly.
fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
That was a good day.
Yeah. We were rushing there. I don't like now that I look back, I'm like, dude, why the fuck was I shitting my pants over that?
Yeah.
But the point I was trying to say is, even when you're a devout believer, you go through phases of disbelief.
Yeah.
You go through, even though you tell yourself suffering is a component of reality, you say God doesn't exist. Like, this world's too fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, God, why would you let this happen, God?
Yeah.
How could you let, my grandfather get cancer, or how could you possibly let this person I love in my life be lost or die, or like all this fucked up shit. Like, why did World War II happen? Why did millions and millions of people die?
Yeah.
In the name of what? And that boils to two things: free will, and God has nothing to do with suffering. He doesn't create suffering. He just allows it by our own doings. God didn't massacre all those kids and Jews. We did.
Yeah.
And the sadly beautiful thing about it is that we were given this free will. We were given the choice to kill people if we'd like. And God loved us so much that He's given us a choice to act on goodness or act on evil.
Yeah.
And that's why not everyone goes to heaven. There's a reason why.
Yeah.
And I have to come to terms with that. But even so, I want like physical proof. Like, I want to see God.
Yeah,
I like just my whole life. I'm always like, I want God to come out of my closet. Like, I'm always in my bed, and there's a closet to my far corner, and I want this fucking dude in a white robe with a long ass beard to walk out of it, and hug me, and tell me He's there and that He loves me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I want sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I look back and I say, well, that's kind of selfish. I want something that is not necessarily in God's plan. It may or may not be God's plan to talk to me or call upon me. That's why a teacher's always silent during a test.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
This is all a test. And it's to either act on goodness or act on evil.
Yeah.
And I think that if God revealed Himself to me, it would make it a lot easier for me to follow His way.
But He's testing you.
But then it's persuading, and God said, "Seek me, and you shall find me."
Yeah.
Not, I will help you by revealing myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And proving you and telling you everything you need to know, so you can follow me.
Yeah.
He's given everything we need to know. That's why we have the Bible. So sometimes I feel distant from God. Like, sometimes I'll feel truly distant from God. Like, He's put Himself away from me. But I've reached this crazy epiphany when I went to Abby's church. I go to her church almost every Sunday. And the pastor's name is Billy. That's her uncle. He said this: God is always in the driver's seat, and He never moves from that seat. We move about the car. One day we'll be in the passenger seat, the shotgun right next to Him, and other days we'll be in the far corner of the car, away from Him. It's not that He's distancing Himself away from us. We are. Yeah. And that's what we have to come to. He's never, ever abandoned us, but we abandoned Him. Yeah. And that hit me really hard and helped me really, really realize something. All the times where I felt like God was absent, I was being selfish and being away from Him. Yeah. And so recently I've downloaded an app. It's just literally called the Holy Bible, and it's free, and I can literally start like I can start a plan, and each plan has like certain chapters of the Bible that are really helpful to get you started. Yeah. Like right now I'm reading Proverbs, and Proverbs it's a great place to start because it's for young adults and young teenagers who are immature and still developing, because it's chapters full of morals and good things to do and moral behaviors. Like, it's basically a code of ethics. It's crazy. It's like, whoa, this has helped me really understand what it means to be human. And it's called the Holy Bible. It's by YouVersion. And this whole podcast was actually set up to advertise for it.
Yeah,
imagine that was just a long ass advertisement. But yeah, it's really good. It's definitely brought me closer to my faith.
Yeah.
Like a week ago, I went through this whole doubting phase.
Yeah.
It was so sad. Like, I just completely doubted and then went through like this terrible phase of like, oh my god.
Well, I mean, that's human nature.
Yeah, you're gonna go through that,
and I haven't done everything.
Yeah, that's why like I suggest, developing some kind of connection with whatever you think is out there. I choose to believe it's Jesus Christ, and that if you establish a connection sooner, it's gonna be a lot easier to get a feel for His presence and be okay when things are sad. When you're by yourself, you're not truly by yourself. Like, if I'm alone and I'm, like, hurt, like, I remember falling in a snowbank, snowboarding, I was by myself, I was scared shitless. I felt still a tranquility, because I wasn't by myself. Someone was watching over me. And ever since then, it made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And Jesus wins. So, phosphatidic acid. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about phosphatidic acid.
Yeah, well.
Before
we
the
were
podcast.
seriously considering it.
Well, at first, the guy falsely advertised that phosphatidic acid worked like a steroid. He lied.
He lied?
Well, in that
but
video you saw, it said that he wasn't. It doesn't act like a steroid, and people say it does.
Well,
What was that study? There was a really cool study that showed huge muscular increases in strength, and that just got me hooked on the idea.
I'll prompt the audience here. So, a couple of weeks ago, Brandon. So we have a group chat on Snapchat called Curiosity.
It's the name of this channel.
Yep.
Wherever, if this is going to it anyway.
And Brandon sent us a picture of this item online, and it's called Max Tor, and it's a phosphatidic acid pill. And the first thing he texted underneath this picture is, phosphatidic acid has the same results as steroids, but it's completely natural. Yeah. And I instantly swiped away, and I was like, oh God, what is he doing? And then
That's what got you? That's what turned you on?
Well, it was just strange, because it's very like shady. So I was like, but now we're looking at it and we're trying to see if it's actually.
I'm trying to look it up right now.
Yeah.
You were saying?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that we're trying to see if it's the real deal, and if I don't know, it's a strange thing.
I'm trying to find that study I did.
That you did.
Yeah, I conducted a fucking study. I think it's by NCBI. I
have no idea what that is.
It's the National. Let's see. It's the. Oh fuck! What is NCBI? National Center for Biotechnology and Information. I think.
Wow!
I think that just came out of my head. I'm not even kidding.
Search it up. It's probably around there somewhere.
Phosphatidic acid is a lipid messenger that has been shown to increase muscle protein synthesis through signaling stimulation of the mammalian target of rapamycin or mTOR. MaxTOR, which is the company, is a supplement that contains phosphatidic acid as the main active ingredient, but also contains other synergistic mTOR signaling substances, including L-leucine, beta-hydroxy-beta-methylabutrate,
I haven't
beta-methyl
hammered that.
Butyrate.
Butyrate.
Beta-methyl... HMB is what they call it. And vitamin D3.
That one is easy.
So they 18 low. This is the methods part where they talk about it. Let's just go to the results. So, there was a significant main effect for LBM. Let's figure out. Let me just see what LBM stands for. Lean body mass. Okay.
Okay.
When compared to the PLA group, so I think the PLA group is
placebo effect.
Probably a placebo group. Additionally, there was a significant main effect for LP. I should have read the methods, dude. Oh, leg press strength, etc. Conclusion. The results of this 8-week trial suggest that the addition of MaxTOR to a 3-day per week resistance training program can positively impact LBM and strength beyond the results found with exercise alone. So, that shit's interesting.
Yeah, well...
And the only way to truly see its visual effect is by taking it for ourselves.
Yeah, I know. It's just such a... I don't know.
It's just... The only reason what's holding us back is because it's $80.
And it's also just like... I don't know. I think it'd be interesting.
You think it's going to affect your health?
No, I don't. Because it seems natural, but...
I miss phosphorus and acid?
Well, no. It just makes me feel... it seems...
Like you're relying on it?
No, makes me feel cheap. Makes me feel like a cheat.
Like you're cheating?
Yeah.
Then people say, why take creatine?
Well, yeah, it's
you take creatine. Why are we taking BCAAs, you know?
Yeah, well...
Well, think of it like this. What's cheating is injecting your body with something that will get you jacked regardless.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's steroids. Any form of training method you do with steroids will get you jacked, okay?
Yeah.
You can fucking go out and garden with your mommy, inject steroids, and you'll be jacked 3 weeks later, okay?
Yeah.
But phosphatidic acid requires exercise.
Yeah.
So, what's cheating? It's like saying, dude, why are you cheating? Why are you eating chicken?
Yeah.
Why are you eating protein, bro? Let your body just build protein synthesis by itself. You're fucking cheating when you eat meat.
Yeah, you've got a point. Yeah.
It's not cheating just because it's in a pill form.
Yeah.
It's cheating when you use something that gets you jacked regardless of what you do.
Yeah. Without actual exercise, it's useless, is what you're saying.
But phosphatidic acid, it appears to... I think it occurs naturally in the fucking... It's not a synthetic compound.
No.
So if it's natural and our bodies can take advantage of it, why not fucking take it?
Yeah.
Our goal is to get jacked. It doesn't matter.
Of course, everybody's goal is that.
Yeah. Or anyone in the bodybuilding industry, so take it. Just don't get to a point where you're like really close to taking steroids by taking some other crazy shit. And I know phosphatidic acid seems like it's going down that route. But steroids, you're literally injecting a syringe into your fucking veins, dude. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's too much.
Like, we're just taking a pill here, you know? That's too much for me. And there's so many side effects to taking steroids, like decreased penile size. That sucks.
Yeah, that does suck.
No one wants decreased penile size. And your muscles appear very flabby if you stop, because it's a fat.
Yeah.
Steroid is a type of fat.
Yep.
So that sucks too. So, I don't know. I think I want to try it. I don't give a fuck. Because it's not like a steroid. You're not injecting or anything. So, if you want, we could split it.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
And there's 126 capsules.
So,
63, right?
Yeah, 63. Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's definitely something to think about.
Yeah. I think...
Well, look at this. We moved from... What was the first thing we talked about?
There's a lot of shit. We first started talking about language.
We talked about language and experiences and our time on Earth and God and now phosphatidic acid. I think to close, we should mention one more thing. And I think that we've talked about it a little bit and it's kind of been incorporated in the other things. But I think it'd be nice to close and specifically talk about what it's like to be a teenager now and what it's like to have the kind of friendship that we have with Vinny and with Jack. You know, it's and Matt. It's just I know there's so many, talking about God and talking about the universe is so broad and it's so powerful and it's so like our lives compared to that is minuscule.
Right.
So sometimes it seems silly to talk about these kind of things, but in the moment,
beyond us.
Yeah, in the moment right now, I'm more worried about our friendship than like, say, whether or not there's other. You know what I mean? It's just so.
Yeah, because we gotta live in the moment we can control.
Yeah.
Be in the present, live in the moment. Don't think about the future too much.
Yeah. So. I think that. I don't know. It's hard to.
Yeah, I'm very content where I am, in terms of friendship. A few years ago, I lost a whole group.
Yeah.
I felt betrayed. Doesn't necessarily mean I was betrayed, but I felt betrayed by my previous friend group. I forgive them now. I don't really care. It's over with. And it sucks losing them. I really cared about them. And then, me and Vinny went to... I didn't even know Vinny really that well. Then we went to Bermuda together. Mm. Coincidentally. We coincidentally met on a cruise ship. We still went to the same school and everything, but each of our parents scheduled to go on the same day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it was fucking insane. And we wouldn't be here where we are now if me and Vinny didn't make a connection.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
Vinny reunited me and Myles through him, and it was a extraordinary experience, and yeah. I'll never forget that.
I think that I think about the same thing every meeting Vinny, and it's definitely brought you and I closer together. And it brought it definitely brought you, me, and Matt closer together. We used to play soccer together all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember before I started hanging out with Matt again, in high school, the last sort of interaction I had with him was I was probably around 12. He was probably around 11, and I remember if he's listening to this, I hope he remembers this.
Dude, if he listens to this fucking 1 hour and 46-minute podcast, maybe.
We were preteen. We were at a girls' soccer game. It was my sister or his sister or something, and we were throwing a football back and forth. That's all I remember. And now we're friends now. But with Vinny, I remember I met Vinny in the 7th grade, and I remember we were in Mr. Gamboris' history class. I love Mr. Gamboris. It was a great class. But
shout out to Mr. Bois.
Yeah, I love that guy. But I remember I might have been sitting next to Jack or something, and I was friendly with Jack, and we were joking too much. So he moved me next to Vinny. Mr. Gamboris was like, Myles doesn't know Vinny. They're not going to get along, and they're not going to be loud. And that same day...
Thank God for that. Huh?
Yeah, well, that same day we started talking, and I remember laughing so hard that I was crying, and I got teardrops on my paper. And Mr. Gamboris marked me a few points off on my homeworks because there was teardrops on them. Because I was
serious?
Yeah, because I was.
He noticed.
Because as I was writing, and as Vinny was making me laugh, I would hunch over and cry on my papers, and then I remember probably the same week I went to his yard sale because he was moving from Glendale Circle to where he lives now on Hillside Terrace, and
you have to bleep that shit out.
Oh crap! No, nobody's gonna listen to that.
Do you think?
Well, we live in Pittsburgh, winky face. Nobody knows where we live.
What the fuck? Yeah, we live in somewhere in Alabama, I think.
Yeah, but so with every person,
147.
With every person, I recall meeting them for the first time, and I do that a lot now, and especially when I'm driving. I don't know if you have this, but I'll be driving, and I'll be thinking about you guys, and
I think about you guys all.
I'll be listening to freaking sad music, and I just want to fucking pull over and just be I just want to bawl, I just want to start crying, because it's so sad. Because it's here. This is the end. It's the end of high school, and as small as our high school is, and as small as it is compared to the world, compared to everything else around us, to me it's the most important thing right now, and it's essential, and it's literally is a chapter of my life, and our lives. And you guys have been, you guys are sacred to me in a way. And now it's just over. Yeah,
or you can look at it as just. It's not an over friendship, it's just a different kind of friendship.
Well, yeah, that's equally terrifying, and it's equally depressing for me, because I don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, but the necessity of change is important too. Yeah. I feel like if we all lived and were for the rest of our lives...
No, of course. It
wouldn't give us that space that we desperately need.
Well, yeah, exactly. If I had the choice to stay and live like this forever, obviously I wouldn't do it.
You probably wouldn't be happy.
No.
Where we live, whatever town that is...
Yeah. Oh, I said it already.
What'd you say?
I said it.
God damn it.
Who cares? You think people are going to... I mean, what do you think?
I know, it's fine. It's not like we're getting 1 million views.
Yeah.
Whoever listens to this is probably just in Massachusetts listening to our shit.
No, you're probably from our high school. And you're probably
Okay, yeah.
You're probably really bored, and you just thought this would be a good idea. Now you're regretting it.
No, it's still fun.
No, this is fun. But yeah, I don't know how you, maybe your senior year, like how you felt about it, but
when my senior year, I always thought about what you told me about your sister.
What?
It was at Vinny's house, and you started crying.
Oh yeah, that sucked.
And I think about that memory sometimes. It's weird. Like I'll be like just, with Abby or something, and I'll literally think about that time.
Yeah. Well, it's
because I think that's the time I saw you most vulnerable. I think I'm not sure if that's the only or one of the very few times I ever saw you cry.
Yeah.
I think about that sometimes, and I think about how much you care about your sister.
Well, it's just, it's again that comparison that we all make when we're coming to an end of a chapter in our lives. You imagine, especially with the people around you, you recall the moments at like the very beginning you had with this person, and then you recall them now. So for me, it was imagining. I remember when I was going to Hardwick Elementary, and my first day at school.
Doesn't matter.
Hardwick Elementary in Alabama.
Yeah.
No, but the first day at school, it was my first day, but it was Olivia's first day of her second year, so she had been there before.
Yeah.
And I remember like her walking me in and just seeing like this image. I remember is like my hand. This is so cheesy, but my hand reaching out and she's like walking in front of me, holding her hand back, but she's kind of pulling me to the front door. And I just remember seeing her hair and her backpack and like whatever silly outfit she had on, because she was never matching. But I imagine that, and then I remember being at graduation. I imagine that, and then I see her walking down the stage and getting handed her diploma. And as a human, with so much of a small perspective, that was like that. That was so fast. And now she's, at the moment, she was 18, and she was once 4'3", whatever, however tall she was, guiding me to my first day at school, and now she's leaving school. And that's over. High school, pre-college education is over. And the time I had with my sister as a student, seeing her in the high school and seeing her in elementary and middle school, is over. And it's not sad, but it makes you sad because you realize that's done. And I'm always going to have a connection with her. She's my sister, and I love her so much. But that sort of connection and that relationship we had in high school, it's sad. It's done. It's over. And there's not a lot you can say about it. And the fact that it is over, and that standing alone is sad enough to just think about. And it's happening now again with you guys. And it's has the same sort of consequences on your mind.
Yeah.
But you move on.
You move on, and there's one thing that won't ever change, and that she's going to be your older sister.
Yeah, of course. And you guys will always be my friends.
Yeah, in life itself, she's still dragging you along.
Yeah.
And at some point, you're going to be dragging her along, and if anything, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great that you may be a leader of your own for her.
Yeah.
And that I think that's great. But sometimes I think change is scary, but the only reason why I think change is scary is because we reflect too much on what happened.
Yeah.
And not what will happen.
Yeah, of course.
There's this necklace I'm wearing.
I was going to ask you
crowning of Jesus, and it has a prayer on it, and I try to remember it, but it says, "God, grant me the serenity or calmness, tranquility, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." Amen.
Yeah,
we can't change the past.
No.
But we can change now, and we can plan for the future.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing we can do is to plan our future with great calculation so that we may succeed in our own endeavors, so that one day we may ultimately reunite.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. I think that's a good close.
I think that's a great close.
Yeah, this was very, this wasn't scheduled. We were working out earlier, and me and Brandon were like, let's do this podcast, because we felt like we had a lot to talk about, and apparently we did. What are we at? An hour 50 now?
An hour and 54.
Yeah, see,
And it literally just started because I started just randomly recording, and we were talking about how to roll our R's.
Yeah, we were talking.
And I thought that was fucking hilarious, so I thought that was a great time to like restart recording. There was a few minutes where I missed it, like some funny shit, but I still got like the essence of the conversation. Yeah. I think it was funny. But yeah, this was one of the many cool conversations I've had with Myles, and I'm just really grateful that I can have that kind of conversation.
Yeah. Many
people don't get that.
I really do. Sometimes I think definitely high school friends are limited to buffoonery. Not buffoonery, but just silly talk.
Just doing crazy shit.
And
getting drunk, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Well, we do the same stuff, but I also...
Not the getting drunk part.
No, we don't. Yeah, we have fun, but we don't.
We resort to other mature actions. But anyway.
But I really do enjoy that we can sit down and talk about this kind of thing.
How many kids, can honestly sit down and have a 2-hour conversation about things that are on their mind? People are often isolating their own thoughts, and they can't even use their friends to talk about their feelings, and I think that's the saddest thing, is when your best friend, quote unquote, is just your drunk buddy,
Yeah.
That's shitty.
Yeah, I do really enjoy this, but...
Yeah, it's definitely, it's therapeutic in a way, and it definitely helps me develop a greater connection with, my best friends, whom I know that I'll be next to when we're dying.
Yeah.
So.
Not even in a physical sense, but in a reflection sort of way.
Yeah. But thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Peace.